Hopefully you are all doing well. Happy Wednesday to all of you. I believe it's Wednesday. Hopefully you guys have had a good week so far. Yago, nice to see you, my friend. Welcome to the speaker panel. How are you doing today?
Thank you very much. Great to be here.
It's always great to have you. Let's start this call off with just a check-in with you. How are you doing? What have you been up to?
Yeah, so things are progressing nicely. We have a few pretty important things happening in the very near term. We've got another major exchange listing over the next few days. We are going to be seeing the first NFT in the BOS ecosystem being launched, and people can participate in that. I'm sure you've communicated on this a number of times, Claire, since you're so involved in it. We have some additional DApp integrations that are going to be occurring on Cardano very soon. We also have uh, we've been talking now for a while about um, Litecoin integration and rollups integrations, and I think that early next year we're getting so close to rolling these out that a number of announcements and sort of additional updates and that are going to be coming soon. But early next year we're going to see both of those things happen, and then additional integrations with Cardano. And then right now, started 2 days ago, but right now we have the first ever dev hackathon on the BOS ecosystem, which is super important because since what we're building is primarily a platform for developers, this is a really, really important um, um, opportunity for developers for the first time really to start getting their hands dirty. And so it's very exciting seeing developers getting their hands dirty with building ZK smart contracts for Bitcoin, building on charms for the first time. This is like the most exciting thing.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot going on within our ecosystem right now, and I'll definitely talk more into the Ordinals campaign later on as well, because there's been a couple things that have happened that I'd like to update you guys on, especially regarding the quests. But what about you, Yago? Like, what about you? What have you been up to? I know that you've been hopping on like some X Spaces here and there. How's that been going?
Well, I think we're in a very, very interesting moment. I've been saying this again and again. If anyone ever sort of catches the sort of podcasts or things that I speak at, this is something I've been saying for the last few months. I think we're at an extremely interesting moment, especially for Bitcoin. We are seeing, people are talking about the K-shaped economy in the world right now. And what they mean by that is some people, for them, the economy is just getting better and better. And for some people seem to be suffering, right? And you'd usually think like if an economy is doing well, generally most of the people do well. If the economy is doing badly, generally most of the people do badly. But what we're experiencing in the world is this K-shape, right? Both up and down at the same time. And I think we're seeing it in particular in crypto, where this old paradigm of these disconnected smart contracts, these fragmented smart contracts, that was really kicked off by Ethereum and then since then by 1,000 other chains that have entered the market. That market is really suffering. I was um, 2 nights ago, I think. Yeah, Monday night. I was at a event and I was talking to some people, some crypto VCs. I had a panel with them and then later I sat with them and they were really complaining about the market. And I think that there's a very, very bad sentiment for a lot of people in the market and about the market. And indeed, if you just sort of look at the short term, the market seems weak. But they were still talking to me about like Deepen and um, AI bots for crypto and all of this stuff. And at the event, I gave a talk saying why I thought that that entire segment of the market was has been doing poorly for years now. And not only that, that I think it's actually going to continue to do poorly and get worse. Um, which is basically because for 10 years we've been promising to build the Internet of Value. But instead what we've been doing is building very fragmented systems and then trying to buy adoption for those fragmented systems through token airdrops, through token allocations, through subsidies. And so what we've seen is an industry which has sort of managed to build adoption through the sugar rush of these early subsidies and hype and narratives during the last few years, and but that all of those projects and all of those systems and all of that hard work that people have invested in has hit a plateau, right? And you can see that plateau because if you look at sort of the broader crypto space outside of Bitcoin, it hasn't grown in 5 years, right? We're still where we were back in 2021. And the reason that we're hitting that plateau is because what we're building is we're rushing forward with really half-baked solutions. Every time there's a new problem, we create a new chain for that problem, right? So we're basically creating chains for features, right? So here's a chain with smart contracts. Here's a chain with privacy. Here's a chain with faster transactions. Here's a chain for gaming. Here's a chain for perps. Here's a chain for RWA, right? Again and again and again. And then we don't just get one chain like that, we get 10 or 20 or 30 chains like that. And so instead of building a single unified ecosystem around a single network, we are diluting all of these different efforts through the fragmentation of the entire industry, all of the users and the user frictions that come with it. And so I think what we're doing with BitcoinOS, this is not a new idea for me. It's what I've been thinking we need to do for more than 10 years and what I've been working towards with the team at BitcoinOS now for some of us have been working together on this for 12, 13 years. But we fundamentally need a rethink of what crypto needs to be. It needs to be a single network like the internet. If it's going to be the Internet of Value, it needs to be like the internet. And so it needs to plug into the same thing and have the same layers. And not have the same layers. It needs to plug in, needs to have all of these different applications, features, functions being plugged into a single network. And so what we're doing with BitcoinOS is we're building that network on Bitcoin. And we're focusing on building the infrastructure correctly to allow for an integrated, scalable system with programmability, with privacy, or with any other given necessary feature, and around which we can then integrate the rest of crypto. And it's weird to me that this is and has always been a controversial opinion, because to me it's just so obvious that the deep architecture of what we've built in crypto has been wrong and has hurt us so much, has hurt the progress of crypto and the ability for all of us to benefit from crypto has been sort of delayed through all of this. But it seems to me that the market is recognizing this, right? We're seeing institutional adoption. We're seeing Bitcoin doing very well. We're seeing huge amounts of innovation like BitcoinOS and the people building on BitcoinOS, but also just generally excitement around developing on Bitcoin that over the last year has been unparalleled for at least the last decade. And at the same time, we're seeing sort of like this poor and increasingly poor sentiment in crypto. And so I think these two things are related. They're ultimately tied to the same cause, which is there is a growing realization that we've built. Unfortunately, we've built with the wrong architecture in mind for short-term gain, but without a long-term vision. And I think what's really optimistic is that realization is dawning on more and more people, and that we won't make that mistake over the next 10 years, but the next 10 years will be the story of integration, security, and fundamentally sound architecture built around Bitcoin.
That's well said, Yago. I was actually going to ask you to just dive in on your thoughts regarding the current market sentiment. And that's also a great introduction for anybody who's just finding out about Bitcoin OS, anybody who's new here. So thank you so much for diving into that. However, I would still like to know, I would still like to know, what are some things that you've been up to personally? Which space, I know you've been hopping on some like spaces here and there. You were on like an NFT space last week. Can you take us through that just so that the community is aware of like what you've been up to?
I'm not sure what you mean. Like I mentioned, like what I was talking about was actually a talk that I gave on Monday, so 2 nights ago. The reaction I got was actually kind of crazy because I was on the part of my talk was also on a panel with these different VCs, and so sort of I was like the contrarian on the panel, but the reaction was quite unlike. It's rare for me to get the kind of reaction that I got. It was just people just kept on coming up and wanting to talk to me about what I discussed, and it was very validating. It was very cool, but it was also more than that. It was an indication that I think more and more people are recognizing and realizing and coming to the same worldview that we BOS have, and recognizing the necessity of what we're building.
Yeah, that's exciting. That's so cool that they were coming up to you afterwards and trying to have conversations. Like you clearly, shifted their perception and belief system there. So
Yeah, I mean, I don't, not to toot my own horn, but I think it is something. It is actually an interesting data point. So, anytime I give a talk, people will come up to talk to me. Um, but this was different. This was, um, if there was like a huge crowd that formed afterwards, and an absolute buzz. It was very, very clear that I'd hit a nerve, which went beyond the ordinary.
please say that this was recorded.
Yeah, I think it was, and we
It
should.
was?
Yeah, I
Okay.
believe so. I mean, there were cameras in the room, and I expect it will go live sometime in the near future.
All right. Good, good, good. So I would love to see that. I'm sure the community would love to see that as well. You plan on going into any like upcoming events or anything taking place? Do you have anything in your calendar?
I think actually that was my last public speaking event for the year of 2025. Um, my next one that is in January. I will be speaking later this year on a couple of mainstream media. The financial press are becoming also much more interested in the space, and so sort of mainstream financial media um, have asked me to uh, come for a couple of short interviews. So that will be happening later next week and the week after.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, I think if there's anybody who can help in bridging that gap between traditional finance and decentralized finance, I think it's you. So yeah, looking forward to that. And I'm sure the community is looking forward to seeing any recordings or tuning into those as well. All right. So with that being said, let's get on to some of the community questions. The first question, which is more so just like a ongoing topic that's been taking place, is regarding MinSwap. Could you please address MinSwap? What's been taking so long? Is there any information that you can provide to the community regarding like an update? When can they expect the pool to go live?
The MinSwap pool should go live over the next couple of days. Yeah.
Well, there you go, guys. Next couple of days. Yeah, and of course, like once that goes live, please just keep your notifications on for our announcements channels. And yeah, let's move on to these next questions here. Okay. All right. So the first question is, I want to know more details on the buyback and burn mechanism.
So the way this mechanism is going to work is the following. Right now, already, BOS is generating revenue. It's at a low level right now. There have been a few tokens that have been launched, like the first programmable tokens that have been launched on Bitcoin. Those transactions are generating revenue, not a huge amount of revenue. So at this point, the protocol has earned about 1.25 BTC worth of revenue. As the computational complexity and the volume of transactions increases, the amount of revenue collected by the protocol will grow. And so we expect to see the rate at which revenue is growing will increase, right? So we'll see revenue grow, but we'll also see sort of the delta of the revenue, the derivative of the revenue, the rate at which it is growing, continue to accelerate. Then the plan is that once a revenue is grown to a point that it is more substantial, so we would expect that to probably be between 10 and 25 BTC in terms of like initial revenue collected by the protocol. And once the pace has increased to about at least 1 BTC per month in terms of revenue, although we would probably like to see it somewhat higher than that, more along the order of 5 BTC per month, then what we will do is we will turn on the buy and burn mechanism. So what will the buy and burn mechanism be? The buy and burn mechanism, once turned on, will offer a auction where it will offer BTC. So the protocol itself will offer BTC, and people will be able to bid to buy that BTC from the protocol with BOS tokens. And then the highest bidders, right, the people who offer the most BOS to buy that BTC at the clearing price, they will get the BTC. Their BOS will go back to the protocol, and the protocol will destroy those BOS tokens. So what is the idea behind this? The idea behind this is that the protocol is able to collect revenue in practically any asset that exists within the BOS ecosystem, so that users can transact in whatever asset they're transacting in. They don't need to figure out a new kind of asset to transact in. And not only that, the difference in computational complexity will help price those transactions, but it won't matter to the users. They'll just sort of make a transaction and there'll be a fee attached to the transaction. then all of that revenue across all of these different assets will get converted to BTC, converting all of this into a gas payment for BTC in BTC. And then that BTC gets distributed to BOS token holders, right? So by holding BOS, you are effectively in position to earn BTC. And by staking BOS, you get to earn more BOS, providing you an option to effectively earn a BTC yield. And at the same time, the amount of BOS is reduced by the revenue that is accumulated by the protocol, tying the value and success of the BOS token to the value and success of the BOS protocol.
Thank you, Yago, for that comprehensive overview. Next question here is Segloper says, BitVM3 enables snark-proof verification to greatly shrink transaction size and increase computation efficiencies. I know that this was one of the primary differentiators of BitSnark over BitVM1 and BitVM2 per the article on Sovereign. My question, what will be a limitation of BitVM that can't be overcome by simply releasing an upgrade? Does BitSnark have a permanent advantage over BitVM, and what is that advantage?
Well, we've actually moved far beyond the initial version of BitSnark. And in fact, everyone building on BitVM has moved far beyond the initial version of BitVM. The primary limitation, well, there are many limitations, but the primary, there are many things that you might want to optimize, but the primary limitation, I think, was the necessity to have a set group of operators engage in creating any single transaction or any single UTXO that included BTC in the system. We wrote a paper many months ago around garbled circuits, which is a new kind of cryptography which can be implemented, and that since has been people in the wider BitVM space have begun to work on implementations utilizing garbled circuits, and we're working towards a version of our system called Gen Z, which does away with the need for a fixed set of operators, will allow us to introduce a broad staking, so anyone will be able to be a staker, allow for far more, and this helps us, and this is why we've been able to say ultimately everyone will be able to be an operator, and allow for any set of operators to come together and create one of N UTXOs as part of the Grail system. Right now, while work on Gen Z is ongoing, the primary thing that we're rolling out is Grail Pro, which is the institutional version designed for custodians. And the first operators will be those institutional users. And when Grail, and so right now there's actually two different systems, there's Grail and Grail Pro. With the introduction of Gen Z, those two systems will merge once more.
Thank you, Yago. So this next question is regarding Bob, actually. What is BOS planning to do to compete against Bob? They seem way ahead of us.
I don't think that there's very much. I don't see Bob as a competitor to BOS at all. They do something completely different. So Bob are a roll-up on Ethereum in the OP stack, whereas BOS, BitcoinOS, is an operating system on Bitcoin. So two very, very different projects with very, very different goals.
Thank you, Yago. And I just want to clarify once again, guys, that we are not competing against anybody in the space. We're all working towards the same goal. Mike Lind said, it appears there will be no more sprint tasks for the time being. That is not correct, my friend. A sprint actually went live yesterday. I will speak more on that later on. So UA said, question for the upcoming AMA. What are Yago's thoughts on the recent Cardano exploit, i.e. the soft fork? Also, how can we safeguard BOS to avoid such an exploit from happening?
Yeah, it's a very unfortunate thing when any chain has a chain split, which is effectively what happened on Cardano. And the systems that we have to build are difficult in part because a chain split like that can be a very can create major exploits within BOS if we haven't built in countermeasures. So let me explain why actually what happened in Cardano is very relevant, because I think this is a very good question. Why what happened in Cardano is very relevant to BOS, and also how we can manage it. All right, so what we do is we create a proof of the chain state, right? So what is the current state of a chain? We can generate a proof of this, and this proof can be written to and verified by Bitcoin, giving Bitcoin basically eyes to see what is happening in Cardano, and a brain also to understand what is happening in Cardano. Okay, so what was the exploit in Cardano? What happened was someone introduced a transaction which was interpreted differently by different nodes in the Cardano, by different validators within Cardano. So that basically the validators in Cardano split into two. And that means that Cardano didn't just have one state, it had two states. And when a chain has two states, you can double spend, because you can take the same token and spend it in state A to George and spend it in state B to Alex. And so both Alex and George think they have money, but you spend that money twice. This is the whole point of a blockchain, is to avoid that scenario. Now, to Cardano's credit, they managed to reunite the chain state quite rapidly. But you guys can see how for BOS this would be a major concern, because potentially someone could, if there was a chain split in a chain integrated with BOS, integrated with Bitcoin, then that could potentially allow you to theoretically spend Bitcoin as a double spend. So to avoid that, what we've done with BOS is we've created the validator and operator set. And one of the things that the validators and operators can do is they can prove that there is an exploit cryptographically. So how does that happen? Well, if there is a chain split, then the system will, the counter chain, right, the counterparty chain, in this case Cardano, will actually generate two separate proofs of state at the same block height. In other words, what the BOS system will see is that there are not just one, but two cryptographically separate states for Cardano. And then through a one of n mechanism, a single operator can prove that this has happened and can invalidate a transaction that is occurring during a chain split period. So what this means is that we actually maintain the same one of n level of security, even in a chain split scenario, because an attempted double spend will be invalidated merely by having an operator prove cryptographically that there are two separate spend scenarios, two separate spend states, right? Either Yago, right, who in this case is being malicious, is trying to spend the asset in one state and not spend it in the other state, or trying to spend it to two different addresses in either state. And so the only types of transactions that would be accepted in a chain state scenario, a chain split scenario, would be if I was in an honest way effectively spending in both states identically, which would be a non-malicious transaction.
Thank you, Yago, again for that comprehensive overview. Next question, we have Lucas from Brazil. Hello, my friends. With the market currently down and moving sideways, is this impacting BOS's development at all, or is progress continuing as planned?
It doesn't impact BOS's development roadmap. It obviously impacts sentiment, excitement in the market. It sucks to see the token trading lower than it would otherwise. But those are all short-term things, and they don't impact our mission, and they don't impact our development roadmap, and they don't impact our sort of ability to progress. So, it sucks for everyone when the market is down, or when there's a lot of fear in the market. It does make adoption more difficult because people are more hesitant to make decisions around integrating or taking any new or doing anything really. And so it potentially slows down BD efforts. But from a development perspective, it has practically no impact.
Great question, my friend. Upwards and onwards. To be cryptological, our favorite green man asked, question for the upcoming AMA. For long-term Bitcoin holders, how realistic is the idea of living off your Bitcoin without selling it using BOS? What might this look like in practice?
Well, I have a personal stake in this. I mean, this is a big part of why I'm even working on this, right? This is a big part of my personal motivation. So my view is that it's extremely practical. How would it work? I think the simplest way is I think it's not going to be an option available to everyone. The reason it's not going to be an option available to everyone is because there is a certain level of BTC wealth that that is going to be necessary for you to live 100% off of BTC without spending any BTC, without like selling your BTC, and that would mean that you have a certain level of expenses, but you can sort of calculate what that level is. So let's say you've got a certain level of expenses. Let's call it, I don't know, $50,000. Okay, you should be in a position to borrow against your BTC $50,000 to cover those expenses. So you would need, in that case, to have not $50,000 worth of BTC, but maybe $100,000 or $150,000 worth of BTC, so that you can over-collateralize and make sure that that is never in a position to be liquidated, right? So you'll never be margin called. You'll never see the value of your collateral drop below the value of your outstanding debt. But assuming you have enough BTC to be able to achieve that, then what you will do is you would need to borrow at a certain interest rate. Let's say the interest rate is very high. Let's say the interest rate is 14%, right? That would be a very high interest rate. Probably, you would be looking for lower interest rates, and lower interest rates are actually available. But let's say, for whatever reason, the interest rate is very high, just for this example to demonstrate how even in a high interest rate environment this would be possible. So then what you would require, what would be necessary, is that on average, the value of BTC would increase at more than 14% on an annualized basis. Because then what that means is that you can pay the interest on that loan um, just from the value accrual in BTC. Now, instead of using toy numbers, let's actually talk about real numbers. So the real numbers today are that you can borrow against BTC at between 7 and 10% interest annualized. And the average increase in value of BTC over the last 5 years has been just under 30% annualized. So by borrowing against your BTC, you're actually gaining in sort of fiat value terms 20% annualized, even though you haven't spent anything. So you can very, very comfortably pay off the interest related to that loan. And so this is basically like taking a mortgage or refinancing your BTC, allowing the value of your BTC to continue to accumulate, right? And then what you're actually living off of is not your BTC principal, but you're spending down the value accrual, like the increase in the value of the BTC that you're seeing year after year. And so instead of living off BTC by selling BTC, you're living off the value accrual of the BTC.
Thank you, Yago and Tubi. I hope that answers your question, my friend. Next question from Steve Hoppy, another amazing community member. So the first question is, without sounding like a broken record, any update on LP for Cardano DEXs? We already went over that regarding MinSwap. Please do expect it to go live in a couple of days. Question number 2, any potential utility in mind for the ordinal collection in the future? Yago, as far as I know, Mage Society is going to be the first ever Charm NFT collection, correct?
Yes, that's my understanding.
So there you go, guys. You guys understand obviously how Charms works in regards to its interoperability features, bridgeless. So all of those features will also take part with the Mage Society NFT as well. You're basically taking part in history in the making. The first ever NFT that could live natively on Bitcoin, live natively on Litecoin, live natively on Cardano, and then in the future, once we've made our EVM adaptations, it'll live there as well. So it's pretty exciting. But yeah, in regards to other future utilities, please stay tuned, my friends. Please stay tuned. Thank you so much, Steve. Next question is from Alexa. Now that the BOS token is live, what's the next big milestone we should be expecting?
So I think the next big milestone is going to be the introduction of the first rollups. So I would say that's the next big milestone. So we'll see the first rollups to Bitcoin. And then shortly after that, I think the next big milestone after that will be the integration of Litecoin. We will then also see at least one rollup to Litecoin. And then after that, I think the next big thing is going to be the completion of the integration of Cardano.
Thanks, Yago. Alexa, my friend, I hope that answers your question. And shout out to everybody that dropped these questions in. Honestly, I think it was over a week ago. So first come, first serve, guys. Like I've told you before, we obviously can't get through every single question. So keep that in mind. Elsa asked, hello, Familia. As the crypto industry shifts toward real world assets and tokenized financial instruments, how prepared is BOS to support high value asset issuance secured by Bitcoin? Slightly wordy question.
Well, I'm not entirely sure what types of assets she is referring to, but I would say that there's two very big types of asset classes that we expect to be able to bring to Bitcoin. The first is stablecoins. That will be both sort of fiat-backed stablecoins of this kind like USDC or USDT or stablecoins like that. The second are Bitcoin-backed stablecoins, where we already have some projects that are working on this and sort of have BOCs that they're able to demonstrate. And so that's a key asset class, and will for the first time allow for the full loop of sort of BTC to fiat interaction to occur fully on the Bitcoin network. And in fact, even fully in the case of BTC-backed stablecoins, fully decentralized manner, and ultimately supported 100% by BTC and the Bitcoin ecosystem. The next big thing, I think, is going to be what some people are calling real-world assets, although I don't think that's the most accurate term. I would say it's more like TradFi on Bitcoin. And the reason I make this distinction between real-world assets and TradFi is because we're not always talking about assets. In the next few years, I think much more than assets, right? So you could imagine, just like having stablecoins on Bitcoin, you would have things like buying NVIDIA stock on Bitcoin so that you could borrow against your Bitcoin and hold NVIDIA stock, or take a position in, I don't know, Google or whatever, or the S&P 500. And I think that is going to happen. But I think even before that, what we're going to see are TradFi type products like funds that become available to people through BOS, where you can take assets like BTC and likely others as well, and start having them held and managed by institutional fund managers for the generation of yield, but without them gaining custody of the BTC. And there's a very, very big market for that. There's multiple different parties that we're engaged with currently around building that kind of thing. There's a lot of excitement. I think it's going to be important to individuals, like the kind of people who are on this call. I think that will be a big unlock. But what we know for sure is that there's significant high net worth holders, either institutional or sort of type family offices, who are deeply interested in that kind of product.
Thank you, Yago. I do want to share today's secret code with you guys, my friends. I will only repeat it once, so please listen. It is 1337. Okay, so I'm going to skip a couple questions, but I'm going to come back to you, Sudi, because Sudi, your question is next. But this user has been pretty frustrated about the MinSwap LP, so I do want to just highlight that before I read this question, Yago. So Raphael said, what is the real reason for still not setting the MinSwap LP? To simply blame it on the current state of the market is not justified. Funds in ADA have been raised and should have been put aside to at least provide minimal liquidity to allow Cardano users to trade the BOS token freely. To point that we can't use Gate.io isn't fair either, as for quite a bunch of countries, the platform is restricted.
Yeah, so the reason it didn't happen, it was scheduled to happen 9 days ago. Doing it is not as simple as it sounds, because it needs to be managed through multiple different parties, because this is a movement of funds that are held by the protocol. And so we have to have multiple different parties sign on it so that there's no chance of the funds getting stolen or lost. We had scheduled this for 9 days ago. One of the parties was unable to join. And so the signing ceremony that was necessary to make it happen didn't happen, which is why it has now been rescheduled. And we expect it will happen by Friday, by the end of day Friday. Now, with regards to the exchanges there's two options. There's Gate and there's Kraken. Both will accept, and we negotiated with both to accept CNT version of BOS, so that people who want to trade with CNT BOS are able to. But we recognize the necessity and desirability of integrating with MinSwap, not just so that people can trade, but also because that is a key component to then later integrating with other dApps within the Cardano ecosystem. So I apologize that it didn't happen before, and we're rectifying that.
Thank you, my friend. And Raphael, I hope that answers your question, my friend. If you have any further concerns, feel free to reach out to me. Always. So let's go back to Sudi's question here. So Sudi asked, how many pre-registrations did we have for the upcoming hackathon? And will we share some insights during the hackathon of the 7 weeks, how the progress is going, so on and so forth?
I don't have the number in front of me. There were several hundred applications. We have multiple different teams who have started and are working through the hackathon, and we will definitely be providing updates. It's all very exciting.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely plan on sharing like some updates with you guys regarding the hackathon in the coming weeks. Same thing with the Ordinals campaign as well. Next question here, we have Solo. Given that BOS's price is down significantly despite the tech progress, how does the team plan to rebuild market confidence and attract long-term holders rather than short-term speculators? Pretty good question.
I think what's very important is that we deliver on the key benefits that BOS provides. Right now, there are no such things as Bitcoin rollups. We're going to be introducing them. There is no completed integration with the second chain. We're going to be providing that. The developers are sort of through the hackathon and through other efforts, we're only now starting to see sort of the first user-facing systems being developed on BOS at a significant scale, and so that will make it more real. Right now, BOS doesn't necessarily feel as real as it should to a lot of people because it's really something that only developers can properly experience. But over the course of January and the first 2 or 3 months of 2026, we will start to see much clearer examples, which are actual products built on BOS that people can use and experience themselves. And I think that is ultimately the key for not just making BOS feel more real, but building out the ecosystem, right? Each one of those things adds to the ecosystem and building out sort of the flesh and bones of the initial ecosystem that people will be able to use. And it will also mean that it becomes much, much easier to explain what BOS is. It will become easier to point to specific applications, specific things that people can do with BOS. So that is the big challenge from now and into the future forever. And we're going to start seeing the first examples of that in the early part of next year.
Thank you, Yago. Since we're kind of like running low on time here, let's just get through these questions with a quick answer. Metal Pig said, what are the biggest technical, regulatory, or adoption risks you foresee for BOS over the next couple of months?
I mean, to be honest, I don't really see any. I don't see regulation playing much of a role in limiting adoption in any near-term time frame, or perhaps ever. The system is built sort of intentionally to be robust to regulation because it is not a centralized system. I think longer term, right, then these things don't happen immediately or even over short time frames, but the longer term story is that we are seeing very, very significant changes, where regulation and the changes in regulation are a major wind, a major benefit to BOS, right? The fact that we're seeing so much more interest in Bitcoin, the fact that the regulation around Bitcoin are becoming far more friendly, and in particular, the fact that we're seeing so much more institutional interest is crucial, because the institutional interest requires a much higher degree of long-term planning. The type of what the institutional players are looking for is they're looking for the ability to use systems that they know are going to be around forever, that they know are built and integrated with Bitcoin, which they already trust. They're looking for the ability to put their BTC to work. They're looking for the ability to utilize systems which allow them to introduce privacy and to make their transactions confidential. They're looking for the ability to utilize their BTC without counterparty risk, without third-party custody. So all of those things are things which BOS is able to uniquely deliver. I really don't think we have real competition in terms of being able to deliver on all of those things. And so that rollout, which is going to be, and I think that the rollout of what we're doing, plus the desire and the migration of capital into those kinds of products, is a story which is going to play out over the next 5 years. And BOS is ideally situated to capitalize on that growing demand and lead in building out the products that are necessary. We've built BOS to provide the technology that makes that wish list, that sort of institutional wish list, possible. It's also why we've invested so heavily in building Grail Pro. I think that is ultimately the next 5 and 10 years of Bitcoin and of crypto more generally is going to be that type of activity, which I am calling institutional DeFi. It's going to be the biggest story and probably the dominant important story in crypto for the next decade, and that is what we've built a system to capitalize on.
Thank you, Yago. Next question from RK. What has the community reaction been to BOS so far? The real believers, the skeptics, the critics, what have been their main concerns?
What do you think, Claire? You're plugged in even more than me when it comes to that.
Yeah, I mean, there's a mix, right? There's a mix of short-term speculators. You're always going to get that. And then you have kind of more so like the long-term believers who, see the vision of what we're building, who constantly stay updated, who care about like the development updates. So it's really a mix. And then there's also the fact that, the market sentiment and the fact that we're obviously not a secluded island, right? We're also impacted by the market. Our token is impacted by the market. And so there's honestly just a mix of both, right? A mix of everything, which I think is
a K-shaped economy.
Exactly, a K-shaped economy, which I think is honestly pretty healthy, to be honest. I think that you need a balance of both. And regardless of, who stays or, regardless of whether or not, you're here for the short term or long term, like we appreciate you regardless. And, everybody who's, we just appreciate everybody who's, contributed to the ecosystem. But definitely some concerns have been around, the MinSwap LP, which we addressed. There's also been some obviously very understandable concern regarding the token. But once again, as Yago highlighted, like guys, like we also have to very much consider the fact that we are not an island. We do not operate solely. We also do get affected by market conditions. So please do keep that in mind. And nothing has changed on our end, as Yago said. We are moving upwards and onwards. Development has still been very much taking place. And there's a lot of exciting things happening within the BOS ecosystem as a whole. So thank you for that question, RK. And it's been awesome having you as a community member, my friend, having you participate in our events and such. So the next question here is Goodman asked, good day, great boss team, and special greetings to Alien. Special greetings to you, my friend. My question for the upcoming AMA is why are we not getting engage points for X posts anymore? So I've kind of put a pause on that, and the reason why is because I hand out such a large amount of engage points during these AMAs, during our activities, during maybe a quest that takes place on Zeely. For example, we have like a push-up competition that's live right now, because we're obviously not just building bridges out here, we're also building muscle, right? So things of that nature, right? We have all these different types of competitions and quests and things of that nature. And those have kind of been, I've been catering large amounts of points to that, but we will kickstart that, once, in the near future, my friend. And a lot of you have also been asking about the marketplace. Is it going to get restocked? Yes, it is, my friends. Of course it is. I've just been reprioritizing my community budget so that I can cater to that. So you guys should expect something soon.
Alien, I have to drop.
Okay.
But thank you so much for organizing this. As usual, we'll have our next one in 2 weeks. But actually, given that it's Christmas, that I'll leave it to you to. We'll need to figure out, because I think the next one would actually end up being on Christmas, so we'll need to change that date. But in case I don't see any of you before the holidays, happy whatever holiday it is that you guys celebrate. Happy New Year. And here's to an amazing and a totally boss 2026. Thank you all.
Oh, thank you, Yago. That was very sweet. And happy New Year and happy holidays to you as well, my friend. Hopefully we can get a call or something sorted before the holidays, but yeah, we'll keep you guys all updated with that, of course. So so now that Yago is stepping down from the panel, I'm going to do my best to answer some questions, guys. I can't answer everything, so I'm just going to go through what I can answer here. But before we get started with that, I just want to make sure I have everybody's attention. Do I have everybody's attention? Because if I do, you need to start throwing those emojis up. I need to start seeing those hearts. I need to start seeing those thumbs up, those sad faces. Get those emojis rolling, because anybody who participates in the next minute is going to enter a giveaway. Of course, as always, we got to keep things spicy here. All right, we got Lord in the chat. We got Posley. We got Greenman. We got Indulgent. We got Ridwan, Steve. Who else? We got Bitcoin Boss in the chat. Let's go. Let's go. Come on, Bitcoin Boss. We love to see it. All right. We got Victor. We got John. UA. Lucas, where's the hearts, man? Come on, stop slacking. Let's go. We got Solo. We got Jess with the crying faces. We got Storm. Let's see. We got Crypto Levi. Nice to see you, my friend. Let me see those hearts, guys. We got Boy Meets World. We got Cena. I got some jokes for you guys about Cena, by the way. I'll talk more into that a little later. We got what is that? The Angel of Web3. Wow, let's go. Angel of Web3 in the chat. I am honored to have you in our space, brother. We got Crypto Black. Let's go. 95 Macro. Come on, guys. Let me see those hearts. We got 30 seconds. 30 seconds. We got Walby in the chat. We got James. We got Carrie. Let's go. Luca Mani. We got Amber. Mustafa. Big Crypto Guru. Let's go, guys. Hell yeah. We got XRD, Mark, Mikeland, Steve. All right, all right, all right, all right. I see you. Okay, I see you guys. I see you. You're all very loud. We got Spoon. Hold up. We got Spoon in the chat. Nice to see you, Spoon. It's always good to see you. One of my oldest friends in crypto here. Thank you guys so much for your attention. Wow, amazing. We love good energy, guys. We love some good energy. We can't obviously deny the fact that it's been a little rough. It's been a little rough. Let's be real for a second, right? But that's okay because life takes us on through these different journeys, and um, everything is a learning experience, right? If you can learn from it, whatever it is, there's always going to be some kind of positive outcome for you, right? You end up accelerating, you end up evolving, which is so important for your life, human journey. So back to questions, my friends. Like I said, I'm going to do my best to answer some questions here. I am going to be very picky though. So one of the questions here is from Jimmy Shaker, and it's a very valid question, and it's something that's been coming up a lot, and it's something that I really do want to address with you guys. And I'm going to try my best to simplify this as much as possible, because again, it's a question that comes up a lot, and I think that I think it's really hard to understand when you're on the like user end of things, when you're on the token holder end of things. So, and I also want to preface this by saying something, by saying that I really want you guys to like understand that anything that we do on the community side of things, any rules that we set, all have good intention, my friends. I am a community member myself, you know what I mean? And I really try to put myself into every single one of your shoes and do everything I can on my end, knowing that it's going to benefit you, knowing that it's going to benefit the ecosystem, knowing that it's going to benefit the project, knowing that it's going to benefit you on a personal level. Like, I genuinely fucking care. I genuinely care. I really want you guys to know that. So anything that I set on a community standpoint, I want you to know has the absolute utmost good intention in mind. So Jimmy basically asked, I did a lot of research in the recent weeks regarding tokens that are securities and not securities. If the token is a security, there is no law that prevents holders, random users, independent analysts, critics, developers from discussing token price, project fundamentals, concerns, hype, anything else. If the token is not a security, then there are even fewer possible restrictions. There is zero regulatory basis for banning, price talk, speculation, charts, discussion. Please comment on this. There is no rule or law that is violated by holders merely talking about the token that they bought or hold. So to simplify this for you guys, what he's basically upset, like, not upset, but more so just, also confused over is the fact that, like, why can't we have token related conversations on official channels? So here is the actual issue with this, my friends. And it's not about whether you can talk about the price, okay? Because he's absolutely right. There is no law that is stopping people, right? Holders from discussing their investments. Okay, it's not illegal whatsoever, right? Whatsoever. Now, the problem is how regulators look at it in the context of an official project server. And this is the part that gets people like confused. Like I said, there's no law that is stopping people from discussing their investments, but the problem is regulators coming in and looking at it in the context of it taking place on an official project server. So regulators don't look for, like, did the team say anything about the price today? Right? That's not what they're looking for. They're looking for, did price talk actually happen inside a team-owned, team-moderated environment where team accounts are present? Right? So I'm going to repeat that again. The regulators are not looking at, did the team say anything about the price today? They're looking for, did price talk happen inside a team-owned, team-moderated environment where team accounts are actually present? Because if it did, they can actually interpret it as the project, right? The team is allowing or tolerating or indirectly endorsing price speculation even if no team member ever applied. So it's not about intention, guys. It's not about what we meant. It's not about anyone hyping anything, right? It's about environment and it's about optics. That's literally how the SEC builds cases. So if price talk happens in an official server that's controlled by the project, where team members exist, where they chat, where they moderate, then the SEC can come in and they can frame it as, oh, there's an expectation of profit. There is implicit promotion. There is unregistered securities behavior. There is the team enabling price speculation. Again, all of this is taking place even if the team says nothing. So even if the team is offline, even if the discussion is purely between community members, even if the discussion is purely between holders of the token. Okay, so this is why every major project removes price talk from their official channels. And if they're not doing it, they don't have a community moderation team that's taking the longevity of the project in consideration. And that is not what we do here, guys. That is absolutely not what we do here. We're a serious project. We're a serious project. We've been building nonstop. We're bringing in innovation that hasn't taken place yet. Building a custom BLS 12 compatible ZK VM. Like we're doing so much, and there's no way that on the community front of things that we're not going to take these things into consideration. And guess what, my friends? This benefits you, right? Because if the SEC comes in and now there's a regulatory issue, guess who that impacts? That impacts you. That impacts the community, that impacts the holder. So there's certain measures that we have to take on our end to not only protect you as a user, as a holder, but we also have to protect the project. So please, once again, understand our intentions, understand that everything that we are doing is once again out of the utmost level of good intention for everybody involved. So I hope that explains things, my friends. That's as simple as I can explain it. Once again, it's not about intention. Even if the team says nothing whatsoever, if price talk is taking place in an official channel, the SEC can come in and they can literally claim that we are implicit. There's like implicit promotion and that we are expecting some form of profit. Okay, so that's genuinely what it comes down to there. So, Jimmy, my friend, I hope that answers your question and I hope that offers you some clarity. Again, we don't run or hide from anything here. Happy to address any concern or frustration that anybody has. Let's see here. I'm going to scroll through some of the questions. But before I get into like the remainder of the questions, I think I'll go over some of the things that are taking place with like some of the campaigns that we have. So first of all, let's talk about the Zeely sprint. So we actually have a new sprint that went live. I believe it was, yes, it was yesterday, midday yesterday. This is time to defend your honor, my friends. Anybody that takes place in these sprints knows that we are literally defending our honor. And guess what, guys? I'm actually going to be competing alongside you guys this time around to make things a little spicy, right? We gotta level it up. You already know I'm participating in the push-up competition. Like, come on, of course. But obviously, like, my place in the leaderboard is not going to count. Of course, we know that as well. So do not worry about that whatsoever. I'm not actually competing with you guys. Do not worry about my place in the leaderboard whatsoever. And if I happen to drop a meme in the Meme Wars channel and you think it's funny, please react with a clown emoji. You know how it goes, guys. I'm not going to clown myself. I might. I'm kidding. But yeah, so please expect there to be a good amount of like new quests taking place. Obviously a lot of them are surrounding our community calls and so on and so forth, but I really kind of wanted to like amp it up this time around with like bringing in some like physical quests. I think that it's really important to stay active, and so I hope that some of these physical quests will drive a passion for you to get in the gym or start going on walks or start doing random push-ups throughout the day, or doing pull-ups every time you go through like your bedroom door or something. Just because yeah, we obviously need to take care of our body just as much as we need to take care of our mind. And I do think that this space can get super toxic and it can become so overwhelming, and we forget to practice mindfulness. And I think that exercise is a beautiful form of that. So yeah, do expect some pretty unique quests. A lot of you have already been like laughing about it. Yeah, so if you would like to participate in our Zeely Sprint, and you're a new user, please, I would love for you to participate. Head over to our announcements channel. All that information is listed there, but you can also go to the Community Hub channel, which basically highlights pretty much everything regarding our community ecosystem, right? Like engage points, the engage marketplace, the different roles that we have, how to acquire the different roles. And so I highly recommend checking that channel out. Again, that's called the Community Hub channel. If you need assistance, ask one of our amazing moderators and they will assist you. But talking about roles, so obviously a lot of the the main conversation here has been about like the diehard role. Like what's going on with the diehard role? How do I acquire the diehard role? This is a question that comes up every single sprint. So what the diehard role is it's basically given to the top 100 of our Zeely Sprint winners. And this role is still very much up for grabs, my friends. You simply just have to take place in our Zeely Sprints. And then if you place in the top 100 at the end of the sprint, once all the rewards are distributed, I will also be distributing out this role as well to you. Now, the Die Hard role obviously comes with perks. For example, we recently just had a raffle for guaranteed whitelist spots for the Mage Society, and there was over 60 users who now have a guaranteed whitelist spot for our upcoming Ordinals campaign. So that's very exciting. Yeah, they get free XP when it comes to like Zeely sprints. There's obviously, whenever we have some form of a campaign or some form of an opportunity taking place, the diehard will always reap like perks from those campaigns. So I highly implore you to take place in our Zeely sprints. They're really fun. We always have some kind of community activity taking place, whether it's game night or movie night, and we also distribute XP there as well. Obviously, a lot of you know this already. But we do have some new users in here, so I do want to just inform you guys on that. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is our Ordinals campaign. So this morning I woke up to 50 tickets, to 50 support tickets. Uh, Lots of people complaining that there's this one user who has 1.2 million points on the apprenticeship program. Now, he might still be in here, but his name is Sina. He had an issue with one of his wallets and it got hacked. And so we were basically transferring his points from one wallet to another, so that, his hacked wallet is no longer connected to the platform. While we did that, it turned out that the 20x multiplier just decided to go apeshit and just multiplied the hell out of all his points. And so that's what took place. And this morning I woke up, addressed the issue, reduced his points down to where it was. And so that's been taken care of, my friends. Obviously, the platform updates every 6 hours. So do expect that to reflect within the next, I'd say probably 4 hours now. The next thing, another kind of hiccup. So a lot of you have probably noticed that you can't claim from the chosen role mana pool anymore. Now, the issue with that is because the team that we're working with that is managing the apprenticeship program, that is managing some of these quests, they accidentally took the wrong role ID, okay? And that was for the eligible role, which I'm sure a lot of you have noticed. The eligible role was renamed to the chosen role. And so they got confused and they took that role ID and they put it in the quest. And so everybody who had it was what was called the chosen role, which was the old eligible role from the airdrop campaign, they were able to claim mana, right? So this was an error. They fixed it yesterday. And now you might be bummed out, like, hey, I can't claim 100 mana every day. Like, what the hell? valid, understandable. I apologize about that. But what I will say is do not worry, because all of the airdrop communities that we had initially onboarded, right, during the airdrop, so like Dog and um Board Ape Yacht Board well, I can never say that. Board Ape Yacht Club, Mutant Ape Yacht Club, Yumio, so on and so forth, right? Um they will all be onboarded at a later time. So please do not worry. That is 100% going to be sorted, and you will be able to start claiming. As you guys know, with the airdrop campaign, it happened in stages. This helps us on the moderation side. So expect there to be the next stage of eligible communities being announced sometime next week. Okay. So those are the very two updates there. Now, regarding the Zeely Sprint, I do also want to say that some of you have been asking why am I not getting XP anymore for reacting in the announcements channel, in the event calendar channel, and the event announcements channel. So what happens is once a sprint ends, those automations get removed. They just get disabled for the time being. You should actually notice now that that automation is live. So today, if there were any posts that took place and you already reacted, please go and like and re-like that post, just so that you can get the XP there, okay? I'm going to bring up James because he's been sending hearts for the last 10 minutes. So I just want to give him a chance to talk over here on the speaker panel. And then we will dive into some other community questions. Yes, James, welcome to the speaker panel, my friend.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening. How are you?
I'm fine, I'm okay.
You're just okay?
Yeah, I'm fine. I wanted to ask a question regarding the Zilli. I would say that it was an interesting session. I started all the questions and all the answers were interesting. I've also learned a lot of things. And I also want to ask a question. I noticed that the Discord channel is no longer working. I don't know if it's from your end, or I don't know if I was banned or something.
Yeah, there's a potential that you might have been banned. What was your what was your username, my friend? I'll write it down and see what went wrong there.
Okay, V underscore J V VG. Sorry,
VG.
V Taj. That is V Taj. V underscore Taj TAG.
Okay, that's it.
No, yeah, V.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, my friend. I'll check it out after the space. If you want, DM me on X, and then I'll help get you sorted. Okay.
All right, no problem. That will be all for now. And I would say that it's just my first time hearing this, first time on the space. Um, Thank you.
Welcome, my friend. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are happy to have you. And yeah, we always have something interesting going. I don't know if you came just for the sprint, but we also have an ordinals campaign that's live right now. It's a free mint for a 2100 collection. But only 1,200 are guaranteed. There's more information to that on our Discord, so I highly implore once we figure out your issue that you go and check out like what that looks like.
All right. I also like to add to something. I don't know if a community moderator, in case you in or have a maybe an vacancy for moderation, something.
Well, thank you so much for your interest, my friend. At this moment, we don't have any more bandwidth or room to bring on anybody new. However, I obviously very much do appreciate your interest. Thank you so much. And I would also just want to say here that please don't let that deter you either. There's so many opportunities out there. You just have to keep putting yourself out there, differentiate yourself from what others are doing. Biggest thing I can say as a head of community role to those of you who are looking for moderator and community manager positions is put yourself out there, my friends. Take initiative. Do things without asking. People will come, people will send us creative support tickets and they will ask me, hey, I would really like to contribute. Well, do it, my friend. Please contribute. Please start taking initiative. Please start doing things without asking, because guess what? You stand out. You end up standing
Sure.
out. You end up doing, yeah.
I was even wondering if I could maybe start right thread for your this thing just down just for free, just to be noticed on X. You get.
I understand, my friend. Yeah, unfortunately, like I said, we don't have any bandwidth for like any room at the moment for any additional like community managers or moderators, but feel free to stay in contact with me. Now that you're part of the community as well, we'd love to see you take part in some of the activities that take place in our community ecosystem. So again, please don't let this deter you whatsoever. There's so many opportunities out there, even if, the lights seem dim. But thanks so much for coming up as a speaker, my friend. And next question is from the Culinary Priest. Hello and welcome to the speaker panel. I'd love to hear from you.
Oh, okay. Nice to be here. Thank you for the opportunity. Am I audible, please?
You are very
Okay.
audible, my friend. In fact, you are audible from 50 miles away. Are you are you speaking in a parking garage or something?
No, I'm in my room.
Okay, that's fair enough. Would love to hear from you, my friend. What's your question?
Okay, please. I don't know. I noticed a trend recently, and that trend also affected the BOS as well. A process whereby people will buy pre-sale, and then at the end of the day, it seems the people that bought the pre-sale, I don't know the exact word to use, because I remember how much the pre-sale was, the price that was we bought the pre-sale, and currently we are at about 60% loss at the moment. But the question is, because noticing it, me and my community, we've decided that anything pre-sale, we are not going to take part in anything pre-sale. We wait for the project to launch, and then after launch, we monitor the market and then go in to buy the project after we do our investigation and notice the project is okay. But here is my question, please, because for the BOS, which is one of the projects we so much believe in, is there anything like to incentivize or encourage the people that key in during the pre-sale? Because I noticed, for instance, the amount of token I bought with $200 initially is the same amount of, even more than that token that I bought with $50 when it dropped to 0.002 something. I bought this more than the token I bought with over $200 with $50 recently. So to encourage people to do pre-sale, is there anything BOS team is doing to kind of encourage the early adopter?
Thank you, my friend. And I'm just going to mute your mic real quick for a second. This is a very good question, and it's also another concern and also another question that's been coming up in the community, which I really do want to highlight that is completely valid, my friends. It is completely understandable that you were one of the early participators in the pre-sale, and now, the BOS token price is kind of where it's at, right? Let's be real. I I would like to say more, but I honestly can't, for legal reasons. But just please understand that, this was not necessarily something that was expected in sorts. Like Yago has said, we're not an island, and during the time of TGE is when the market sentiment decided to shift as well. But it was honestly very much a priority for us to TGE, right? Because we had already delayed it like 2 months, and we wanted to obviously make sure that we were honoring the timeline that we had indicated for you guys. And so regardless of the market sentiment, we said no matter what, like we're going to launch, because this is important, right? We need to honor what we're saying. We need to not go back on our word. So there's a lot that took place that was just unfortunate, right? It's unfortunate not only for us, but there's also a lot of other projects. If you look at projects that launch recently, that have also unfortunately been impacted as well. Maybe some less, maybe some more. If you look back at last cycle, and I say this a lot, if you look back at last cycle, any project that launched within the altcoin season did extremely, extremely well. Extremely well. That was a completely different, like, giant and experience of its own. Obviously, you guys know that we didn't necessarily experience any coin of any form of altcoin cycle or altcoin season whatsoever. Bitcoin has been dominant pretty much this entire cycle. Obviously, there's a lot of reasons pertaining to why that is the case. But all I can say to you guys as like head of community is I think one of the biggest gifts that we can give back to you guys is that we uphold our promise, which is to continue developing, which is to continue building the things that we said that we would build, which is to continue innovating and to bring those things to light. That is something that, that has not shifted whatsoever. And we're continuing to develop. We're continuing to have technical updates. Another feature that, another element that comes up a lot too is staking. So Yago actually said in the last community call that we had, which was about like 2 weeks ago, he mentioned that we're actually a little bit ahead of our schedule in terms of staking being available. But that's obviously not going to take place until the next year, 2026. Hopefully it'll happen within that first quarter. And what you'll actually be able to do is you'll be able to, instead of running your own node, which you'll also be able to run your own node if you would like to, is you'll be able to stake on your Slam node operator of choice. And in turn, obviously, you will reap rewards, right? There will be incentives involved. Now, not only are you being incentivized, but you're also upkeeping the integrity of the operating system and the entire ecosystem that's part of that, right? So it's mutually beneficial. So that's something that we're looking into accelerating as soon as possible. I promise you that's like a topic of conversation that takes place pretty much every time we have a team call. And I also promise that on my end, I do everything I can. I am literally, I am the annoying team member. I am the one that is, I ask the same question like 50 times a day because I want to make sure that you guys get the answers that you need. So I promise you that as soon as there's more information available regarding staking, I will get that information out to you guys. Like I have said, time and time again, there will be lots of tutorials. We will be doing community calls. I will dedicate specific channels on Discord to onboard each and every one of you and make sure that I simplify that process. So yeah. And again, my friend, there's a lot that I would like to say regarding, the price, not necessarily the price, but just, I guess like the price action of the token, but unfortunately I cannot. But just know that you are not alone in your feelings. You guys are not alone in the impact that it's had on you. And once again, the biggest gift that we can do at this moment in time is to continue upholding our promise to develop, to build, to bring this operating system to life, to target this major problem in the cryptocurrency space, which is fragmentation, which causes a lot of issues for users, for ecosystems, for chains. And that is never going to stop. We are going to continue to build. And as long as I'm here, my friends, I promise you I will, update you guys as much as I can. So I hope that might not necessarily be what you want to hear, my friend, but I hope that, it provides at least a little bit of clarity. Okay. So, let's see here. Can everybody hear me, by the way? Like, can you give me like a thumbs up or a heart? Yep. Okay. Let's see here. Sensei Man. He said, I'm going over some community questions, by the way. Sensei Man said, let me first say thank you to the team for constantly putting in work. I know Web3 never sleeps, and working in this space is super tasking, so a big kudos to the team. Also, a thank you to the community. I'm not a fun Discord person, but the chats are hilarious sometimes, especially the Meme Wars channel. My question is simple. What happened towards the end of the last sprint? It seems like it had a nail-biting finish. Give us the gist. That's a funny question, my friend, and thank you for being so positive. It is much, much appreciated. What happened towards the end of the last sprint? So it's always a very nail biting finish, I think, because there's all these like different ways of of getting XP within our ecosystem, and one of the ways is creating memes. So when you drop a meme in the Meme Wars channel, I basically have to go through them manually and react to your meme with a clown emoji, which will give you a certain amount of XP. So during the end of the sprint, basically people were printing out memes like there was no tomorrow. And yeah, there's just a lot of like intimate jokes within the community about very specifically a very unique group of individuals. The Germans, we got Sudi and Stormfister. So they're kind of like they're kind of like the face of the community in a sense. And we just have like a lot of like intimate jokes like within each other. So that's really what it was. And, yeah, everybody was just competing to basically post as many memes as possible, literally as the time was ticking. And, yeah, I'm honestly very excited for seeing all your memes. I know that Storm already has 50 to 60 memes already ready to go. And he already has set his alarm clock to make sure that he posts a meme every 6 hours. So guys, like I said, with these sprints, it is time to defend your honor. I don't think this one is going to be an easy one by any means. I think everybody's going to amp it up a notch. And then we also do have a lot of community members that have recently joined as well. So that should keep things exciting. And a lot of you will probably complain about the die hard rule and say, hey, it's not fair that, people are getting free XP for the die hard rule. I'm not going to be able to place in the top 10, top 11, top 12. I promise you, my friend, that we have debunked that methodology or that perception time and time again. In fact, we had Alexa, we had Isaac, who recently joined our community, and they placed in the top, I believe it was like the top 10. So don't let the die hard roll deter you whatsoever. But let it kind of be, something that you kind of work towards. Somebody was actually complaining in the general chat about, hey, please, I don't want to please, I don't want to compete for the Zealy sprint. I don't want it to be too hard. Please make it easier. My friend, no. Simply put, no. This is a game. We're playing like a game together. It's fun. It's questing. Like it's just a little bit of like friendly competition to keep things spicy, to keep things interesting. We're definitely not going to slow down. We are not going to make things super easy to cater to everyone and their mother and their grandmother. Like, that's just not how things work around here. Okay. You got to push yourself a little bit. Life is not easy. So simply put to that question, no, my friend. But besides that, my friends, I think we've honestly covered everything. There's just, I guess, one more thing to cover with you guys. Obviously, we are approaching the holidays here. So, with that being said, I would like for you guys to also understand that because we are approaching the holidays, we have a team of humans who are also impacted by the holidays, and so they will be taking some time off until probably the first week or second week of the next year. So please do keep that in mind. Obviously, that's not taking place right now, but as we approach the holidays, sometime next week, the following week, please do expect for activity to slow down significantly. I will do my best to be available here and there, but also, even though I'm an alien, I will be taking some time off. Next week, specifically, I'm going to be off for a couple of days as well, so I just want to be transparent with you guys about that. But but yeah, that's just basically the gist of things. And then some of you are probably wondering, well, what's going to happen to the Zealy quests? That's why the Zealy competition ends at the end of January, my friends, so that, during the holidays, we can all rest a little bit. We can all be with our families. We can all spend some time away from the computer, away from Discord, away from our devices. So during the holidays, I promise you there's going to be very little to no competition whatsoever. In fact, I might even halt meme wars, just because I want to make sure that you actually relax and take some time for the holidays. Like this time of year comes once a year. I need you to take advantage of that. So, with that being said, my friends, I think we've covered everything. And if you have any questions whatsoever, or if you need anything, you know where to find me, you know where to find our beautiful, amazing, compassionate moderators, even though some of you might not think, they very much are. We deal with so much on a daily basis. We give more than we can take. So please show some appreciation for your friendly neighborhood moderator the next time you see one, because it's always very, very much appreciated. And shout out to Jess, shout out to Indulgent, shout out to Jason, shout out to Kat, Uzor, Ivan, okay? Shout out to Oliver and Michael. Shout out to Kyle, shout out to Jack, shout out to Sophie and Kay, okay? I might be missing someone. Apologies if I'm missing anybody there. But much love to the moderation team, and much love to our amazing community as well, okay? I see you guys. We got Spoon in the chat. We got Lord, Posley, Greenman, Barkley, Steve, Indulgent, Victor, John. So much love for you guys. UA. We got Solo, Jess, Storm. We got Zyra. Nice to see you, my friend. We got Crypto Levi, Ash, Cena. Cena is in the chat again, guys. I told you. Cena is the infiltrator. Cena is the guy who has the 1.2 million points, but has now been adjusted, and he was very honest with it in general chat with you guys. So we love honesty, Cena. We absolutely love honesty, my friend. We got Web3 Freak. We got the Angel of Web3. Again, pleasure to have you, my friend. We got Uğur, who I believe you're Turkish, my friend. I'm also Turkish, by the way, if you didn't happen to know. Nasılsın? Umarım iyisindir. We got Crypto Black, we got Levi, we got RG Glizzy. So we got a Glizzy in the chat, guys. We got Walby, we got Slim, we got Crypto Chad, Lucky Buck, Ali U, James, we got our amazing Amber, Lou, Fralex, MK, Empires, Obito Crypt, Moses, Comfy, Mark Simpson, good to see you. We got our amazing Mikeland in the chat. We got Culinary Priest. Who else? We got Steven, ST Steven. We got Abel Mart. We got Dozer. We got our new Dozer in the chat, new community member. Good to see you, my friend. We got Jake, ST Steven. I don't know why you're thumbs downing me, but I hope you're okay, my friend. Shout out to all of you. As always, we end these community calls on a beautiful note. So with that being said, let's put on some music, and then we will enjoy the rest of our days. So shout out to all of you, and much love as always.